I am Nick Knudsen. I'm the executive director at Demcast USA, and I'm going to share my screen. We have a slide deck today. I'm going to share my screen and um, show you the beginning of the deck. So Jamie, you want to run through our agenda, and then I'll do the intro part about Demcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie. I get to work with all of our fabulous partner organizations. And so our agenda today, we're going to do a quick intro, some notes, acknowledge where we are. I know we're all still feeling it, but where do we go from here? We need to know what the problem is, and we need to find the solution. And then we're going to kind of go over what our plan is to evolve over the next year, 2, 3, 4 years. And then how you can all get involved. And then, of course, we will have Q&As. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A function because the chat usually goes too fast and we won't be able to see those questions in there.
All right, so just really quick about who we are. I know that there are a lot of people on this call who are maybe unfamiliar with Demcast. We've had a lot of fresh signups for these democracy briefings in the last week, and we really appreciate that. And we love the energy of people looking for ways to contribute and be a part of the solution here. So, Demcast is a 501c4 nonprofit organization. We were founded in 2019, basically because our co-founder, Lori Coleman, and I and Jamie, Lori's on the call. Hey, Lori. Saw a gap in communication infrastructure on the left that was really significant because, as we'll walk through today, the right wing has a really robust digital amplification infrastructure where hundreds of thousands of social media accounts just repeatedly spread right-wing talking, MAGA talking points online, and there was no existing structure that was there on our side to sort of meet them on that playing field. So we built Demcast to create that infrastructure and to make sure that people with social media accounts could be a part of the solution in terms of spreading pro-democracy messaging and fighting right-wing propaganda. We are very proud of the work that our team, our network did. Thousands and thousands of people joining this fight during the last cycle. We weren't big enough, and there wasn't enough sort of alternative media infrastructure on the left to get us past that point where we weren't losing to the right wing anymore in terms of digital amplification and digital media infrastructure. So that doesn't mean that we quit. That means that we double down and get bigger. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just as Jamie said, be sure to drop your questions into the Q&A. And I just wanted to plug this Wednesday, we are going to be doing a social storm. It's around reproductive access to medication abortion via telehealth. So it's a really important topic, very timely topic. So keep your eyes out for that in all the ways that we communicate with you, whether you're a subscriber to the Digital Drumbeat on Substack, you're on our text list, or you're in any of our groups. And we will be talking later in this program about how to join all those things. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We'll explain it. We wanted to take a moment at the beginning here just to acknowledge where we're at as as a movement, and just that this was a really severe, gut-wrenching blow to all of us who really wanted to see a different outcome, who are really disappointed in our fellow Americans for being willing/excited about bringing this man back into office and lifting the MAGA agenda. It's really disappointing. It's scary for many of us, and for a variety of reasons. And it's just really important to sit and acknowledge that and understand that everybody on this call is feeling some level of that same feeling. And the one of the best things, it's not the purpose of Demcast, but one of the best things about Demcast is the community and the fact that we can come together, we can have a digital community, whether we're in deep blue areas or we're blue dots in deep red areas. This is a way that we can connect with other people who care about what happens in this country and want to be a part of the solution, making things better. So I appreciate all of you. We appreciate all of you. And we'll talk more about how we're structuring the community in a little bit. All right, Jamie.
Was a headline from the New York Times. Liberals are left out in the cold as social media veers right. If the election underscored anything, it was the ascendancy of the social platforms for the right that puts Democrats at a disadvantage. We all saw corporate media, mainstream media try to both sides, normalize Trump. The alternative media ecosphere with the podcasts, all of that really is right veering. And the algorithms were against Democrats across all social media. And the Republicans have structural advantages. They have been building this for years. We're just starting. And we know from the polling that's been done that people that were more likely to vote from Trump got their news from social media. They did not get their news from cable. So Fox, all of those, that's not where they got their news. People who actually got their news from mainstream media, from cable, were more likely to support Democrats. And so we know that in order to win, we need to be where the people are, which is social media. That is just a fact. And you can see here that this is progressive content versus conservative content by platform. The only place that Democrats did better was TikTok. Everything else, we got our asses kicked, basically. So this is what we're combating. But only some accounts on TikTok really broke through. And you can see even here that where our spikes were the three big moments, which was when Kamala became the nominee, the convention, and the debate. So we can win the information war. So obviously we don't have current data on Threads, Blue Sky, all of these. This was the last year. But you can really kind of see the percentage of people, men versus women, age, urban, suburban, where the people are. So 18 to 29-year-olds, 93% are on YouTube, 93%. So we need to really be expanding where we're at and our messages across social media. And then if you go down even further, the race divide. Black and Hispanic and Asian are more likely to be on social media, which is our target demographic. And that is where we need to target, and we need to do a better job at messaging of how all of these policies affect daily lives. That's why something like abortion broke through so well, because we're telling our stories. And that's what Democrats need to do moving forward, telling our stories and who we are. So we can see that the majority of Americans are getting their news from social media. Um, so people will regularly use social media to get their news. The first slide is how many of the US users actually go to that platform for news. And you can see Twitter and TikTok are really high up there. But almost everybody who is on social media gets at least one type of news on social media, whether they're actively looking for it or not. So 90% of the three biggest platforms see some type of news. And that's an opportunity for us to tell factual news. Because remember, you guys are the trusted messenger. So we know that MAGA, Putin, China have spent hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars building a troll army of anti-democracy social media accounts. These are meant to recruit, train, and deploy users to use their talking points. We know people are even charged for this, and it is a well-oiled, disciplined machine. Can we ever repeat that? Probably not. But being authentic, we can combat that. So that same New York Times article we shared at the beginning, this was from a Democratic consultant. Nobody is going about actually doing something to give the Democratic Party supporters a social media space. Nobody is building something for Democratic causes, which can actually do what the current infrastructure does for Republicans. Obviously, he has not heard of Demcast, and he has not heard of all of you.
All right. Thank you, Jamie, for helping to frame the problem. Basically here, guys, we're up against it. The right wing is vastly outperforming us and is effectively, um, persuading voters who should be policy-wise voting in a different way. But their disinformation and misinformation and media machine is just extremely powerful. So we as a movement, and there's lots of conversation about this, op-eds, talking heads on cable news talking about the need to build up the left's digital infrastructure, our messaging apparatus. We need more podcasts. We need all these things, right? We've been hearing about this. So we need to build up. We need to have more streamers. We need to have more independent journalism, especially in an era where Trump is going to be, tightening his grip on corporate media. We need to have more podcasts, both explicitly political and sort of politically adjacent. We need to build up our influencer base and make sure that our political influencers and our politically adjacent influencers are strong voices and carrying a message that's effective. Uh, which we need to think about what that is. Paid digital ads is a built-in part of the digital influence ecosystem now. I think there's still too much of a reliance from the party and big donors on TV and digital ads, and not enough of an investment in organic social media strategies. And hopefully that this result will shake that loose a little bit. And then there's the digital field team. Jamie talked about the troll army of the right and how well funded it is, how well trained it is. Demcast is really the only coordinated, intentional infrastructure on the left to deploy regular people to just like share helpful talking points at volume. And so that's our place in the left's digital influence ecosystem. We aren't trying to be, you know, podcasters. We're not going to solve that problem. We're not going to be influencers. That's not who we're bringing onto this team. This team is regular people with social media reach of any kind, from 50 followers to 100,000 followers or whatever. Doesn't matter. You're mission driven and you want to be a part of the solution online. And so we'll talk a lot about what the strategy here is and how we want to deploy folks on the digital field team. Was this one mine or yours, Jamie?
Good. That one's yours.
This is mine. Okay. Sorry, guys. We did our best to pull this together. So our strategic objectives. What are we trying to do with this digital field team? The top one is making sure that Americans understand the impact of this administration on their lives. We need to, from whatever sources we can get them, we need to focus on story. Ideally, people telling their own story about the impact of these policies on their lives. This is the long play. We need to, for those people who voted for Trump and for MAGA Republicans, we need voted for them because like inflation was high and they were mad, or because they think they saw a podcast and they thought Trump was funny and personable or whatever. We need to make sure that they understand when they get kicked off their parents' health care because the ACA gets repealed, or the retirement age for Social Security goes up and people can't get access to their Social Security anymore. We need people to understand why that happened, and not in a you messed up, you shouldn't have voted like that. We don't want to incorporate them in as part of the problem. We want to just show them what is actually happening, and we just can't count on corporate media to carry that water for us anymore. Especially, like I said, in an era where Trump is going to have probably a lot more influence over what gets covered there. So that's like big. That's like the big thing that we need to focus on in 2025. More generally, we want to increase our volume of effective and purposeful messaging online. Like Jamie said, we're just getting out posted on most platforms, and so we need to just talk more and talk about the right kinds of things. We need to build our influence bench. That's you guys. So part of the benefit, I think, of joining Demcast is we want to help you grow your influence. We want, and we'll talk a little bit about how we do that later. But if you're a messenger who wants to become more effective and get more followers, like this is a great way to do that as a part of a community via mutual amplification. And we don't just need like 10 really big influencers who command the space. We need a lot more sort of middle tier people with influence who have good reach, who can carry a message collectively together. And that's a big piece of our goal here. We talked about the need for better and bigger sort of alternative media infrastructure. We're talking about the podcasts on the left, not even necessarily partisan podcasts, but just politically adjacent podcasts, streamers, uh, independent journalists who might be posting investigative journalism on Substack. Um, we can have a hand in helping these people grow and gain influence, as long as we feel like they're effective messengers. And so that's going to be an explicit goal of ours, is to share clips from these podcasts or these streams, to share links to articles and encourage people to subscribe to alternative media. We want to keep morale as high as possible, and make sure that people don't completely disengage, because that's how fascists win, to put it bluntly. And then giving people things to do. So we can have a hand in spreading links to that encourage people to call their congresspeople about important issues, let them know about protests that are happening if the Republicans are on the verge of repealing the ACA or something like we did in 2018. We just want to be a resource for people so that they can take action that they feel is having an impact on in the resistance phase. The how. Jamie, is that me? Sorry. My list went away when I started sharing my screen. I'm an idiot. Okay, yes, this one's me. Okay, so native posting. So how are we going to do this? Like, I told you what the strategic objectives are, but like, what does that look like? This has always been a piece of the Demcast strategy. It's like, you have a social media account, you post it on it, and share information, share messaging, and that's going to continue to be a core piece, obviously. Mutual amplification has also always been a part of the Demcast model. We want to help everybody grow their accounts, and making sure that we're amplifying each other is a really important part of how we do that. Social media storming rallies. I was making this and I was like, swarming sounds kind of cool. So anyway, but just the idea here is that, like, when we all talk about something online at the same time, it helps the message travel farther. And that's these moments when we're doing social media storms is where we really have the opportunity to kind of pierce algorithmic bubbles and make our way into, via trends, into sort of other people's feeds who might not usually see our content. So this will continue to be a really important strategy for us. Content curation and dissemination. So like I said, we want to be kind of pulling clips from all of these like left-wing alternative media sources, good independent journalism sources, as well as just memes and graphics and TikTok videos and Reels videos and just anything that is carrying our message across the internet. We want to find that, curate that, and then package it so that you guys can share it via your social media accounts. Algorithmic boosting of effective content. So this is really important, and not everybody has to even be a native poster. If you don't like just posting stuff yourself to your social media feed, but you're more kind of a lurker, which is totally cool, and many people are. You can still be a part of the solution, because the social media algorithms, really drive content into people's feeds by how people are engaging with that content. So if I post something and all of a sudden 50 Demcasters jump in and reshare it or watch the video all the way through or leave a comment, that's going to tell the algorithm that that content is really interesting and it's going to show my posts to more people. And so, intentional algorithmic boosting of important posts on social media is a way that we can also be a part of the solution without even posting anything necessarily. This isn't something that we've done a ton of, but I think it's something that we're going to have to do more of. And this is going into um, right-wing posts and replying with facts, and then having our team boost that reply so that it gets driven up and rises up the comment feed. Um, we have to break their bubble somehow, and this is just a way to do it. You don't want to do this on a post that has like one view and nobody's looking at it, because then you're telling the algorithm that it's interesting and then more people might see it. But if it's a post that's already got a lot of eyeballs on it, like that's a time when we can jump in, and maybe we're adding a little bit algorithmically to it, but we're also disrupting some of the narrative. So it's an important trade-off. And then cross-pollination across platforms. So if there's a great TikTok video, let's bring it over to Twitter. If there's a great Twitter post, let's screenshot it and bring it over to Instagram. We've those of us who've been around Dimcast for a long time have been doing this, but this is a way that we can sort of bring fresh voices to different platforms, maybe voices that people aren't as familiar with. And so that's going to be a big piece of what we do too. All right, Jamie. You're on mute.
Still the most used phrase, right? You're on mute. So my cat's got a new cardboard scratcher and they were using it as a snack. So I was trying to have them be quiet. But the number one question we get asked, and we get this question every single day, what platform should I be on? And our answer is wherever you're comfortable. You don't need to go out and start a brand new account on Instagram if that's not where you're comfortable. So wherever you're comfortable, it's hard to do more than three, because then you get lost. So pick your top one or two, whatever you have time for, and post. The other question we get asked, aren't we preaching to the choir? No, we're not, because you don't know who your followers, your friends on Facebook, who their friends are. And that is the whole point of this. That, you post to your followers, to your friends, and then they comment and they share it. And that expands your network. So, and the biggest thing is memes move. You can, and I'll use one that I did, a quick one, the night that Kamala Harris was speaking at the Ellipse. There was a great picture of the crowd and I had superimposed her on it. And I suddenly saw that everywhere. I saw Mark Hamill post it. So you don't know when you're posting a meme, who's going to pick it up. And I'll tell you, it was a thrill for me and something I had done up in less than 60 seconds, that Mark Hamill posted it. So you don't need to be, that fancy. Sometimes stuff from your gut, your heart carries a long way. And, when we're swarming, we can pierce those algorithmic bubbles. And on election day, Trump's post of to stay in line was seen and commented on across platforms by over 100 million people. Kamala Harris's same post, 20 million people. So that is what the Republicans do well, because they all went in to boost Trump, and we did not do the same to Kamala Harris. So this is not a chorus, and we need everyone on our side to be equipped with the facts and the arguments. And that is what we are aiming to do. So the next part of the solution is the what. And messaging content is one of the biggest requests. And our goal is to really up the amount of messaging content that we give you, as well as messaging guidance that we get from everywhere to make sure that you guys have what you need to be able to post. So first step is we're going to be having a secure, expansive community that's ready to do the work. We want to make sure that the billionaires don't have access to our chats. And our long-term objective is to make sure people realize that the MAGA agenda isn't for them. It's for the billionaires. We want to focus on the impact, not the character of the Republicans, because people obviously don't care about character, but what they do that will affect their everyday life. And the last part of this is we need to be strategic and pick and choose our battles. There are going to be things that Trump and MAGA does just to get a reaction out of us that don't matter in the long run. And so we need to be very strategic. And if it's a battle we know we're going to lose, then we don't even need to start that battle. Let's focus on the battles that matter the most and don't be sidetracked by all the shock that they are going to be throwing at us on a daily basis.
All right. So, how, for those of you who've been involved in Demcast and those of you who haven't, just some notes on sort of how we're evolving our strategy in a Trump 2.0 scenario. Due to security concerns, we are not going to be utilizing platform-based direct message groups anymore. It doesn't make sense, really, regardless of platform. None of these social media companies are our friends, and we just can't trust them with our strategy conversations. It's less convenient for people who are kind of platform specific users, but this is something that we've been wanting to sort of move toward for a long time anyway, because if you're convening in a space that's not platform specific, there's a lot more opportunity for cross-pollination, for development of new relationships. You can intermingle with people who are maybe Instagram users or Twitter users or Facebook users if you're not on those platforms, and it just helps our community connect, not in sort of platform specific spaces. So by January 20th, we will be closing down any platform-based direct message groups that we currently have been utilizing. Not gonna lie, this is, we're concerned about surveillance, and this is a fascist dictator type person whose idol is Vladimir Putin. So we just have to take security a lot more seriously moving forward. So we're going to just really make sure that that all of your information is safe, and that we're giving people the best guidance about how to keep their online profiles clean and clear, so that we can avoid things like doxing and criminal prosecution by rogue DOJ. Expand. I mean, that's the purpose of this call. It's not that we think we were doing the wrong work in the previous cycle. It's that we weren't big enough to have the impact that we wanted. And so we are not billionaire backed. Nobody's paying us to do this, but we believe in the cause, and this is what has to happen. So we're going to work to really expand our network and get a lot bigger and do purposeful recruitment of people across social media platforms so that we can make sure that we're everywhere with effective voices. We toward the back half of 2024. That's the year it is, right? But in spring we adopted Reach as an app where we centralized tons and tons of content. Many of you have been in our Reach campaign, and we're going to continue with and double down on housing that library of content and making our curation of content even better so that what's in there is powerful and effective and something that you should want to share and that your followers will want to see and be persuaded by. I mentioned this before, but this is kind of new for us. This hasn't really been a strategic objective in the past, but we think it's important that a social media army, a social media digital field team can help build the left's alternative media infrastructure. We can have a big hand in that. And so we'll seek out partnerships with people who are creating content on the left and see what we can do about really helping that ecosystem to evolve. Supporting us. Like I said, we are not billionaire funded. So we have our digital Drumbeat newsletter. One way that you can support us, and Jane, and we're not out here trying to get rich. This is a nonprofit organization. We have a board of directors. We get sort of cost of living increases, but we're staff, and staff need to be paid for to coordinate this whole thing. So a great way that you can do that is just to subscribe to our digital Drumbeat newsletter. It's on Substack. I highly recommend downloading the Substack app, actually, because then you get notified when things that you subscribe to, when there's a new sort of edition of whatever you subscribe to. And it's just it's a good app. I like it. But you can subscribe in there, or you can do it via the web. And that's a really nice way to support us, because it's ongoing resources, because it's a monthly subscription that gives us kind of resource certainty, which is just super helpful. Also, just go to our website, debcast.com, look for that donate item in the menu at the top, and donate via ActBlue. That's great too. If for those of you who know us, like, we don't ask for money a lot, so that's something that we should probably be better at. But we're also activists, and we're inundated by the same folks that you are in terms of just repeated asks for resources. So we get it, and we totally understand if you can't contribute money, at least at this time. You might not have the resources for that, and like, Demcast will never be a place where you have to pay to be involved, ever. It's just against everything that we stand for as an organization. Okay, so like I said, there's kind of different levels of ways that you can be engaged in Demcast, and I'm going to walk through those. The digital Drumbeat's kind of the first level, so you can just subscribe to that, and you'll get a daily email. Usually, I'll post something on the Substack if we're doing a social media storm about something, and I'll share the toolkit in there, and so you can be involved in that way. And sometimes I'll post messaging guidance, just information from thought leaders, and it's all around like how we can make an impact online. So that's kind of like first level of involvement in Demcast. The next level is to get texts. So when we're swarming social media, we usually send a text out to our text list, and you can join that very easily by texting resist to this phone number here. And that'll just, when we're doing something collectively online, that's like kind of the quickest and best way that we can get information out about it. Because if you're in the if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you might not check your email, but a couple times a day. So you might kind of miss a window in terms of doing a collective action online. So highly recommend joining our text list. We don't inundate you. Probably, what would you say, Jamie? Three or four a week, maybe, in terms of texts at maximum.
Sometimes less if it's quiet, sometimes more if there's a lot going on.
Yep. And then just if you do subscribe to our text list, just a suggestion: add Demcast add that phone number as a contact in your contacts list, just so that it comes up as Demcast. It's helpful to just like flag it, Join Reach. So Reach is the app that I was talking about, where we have a massive shareable content library. It's an app adoption. You can join online or on via web as well. But you do have to give them some information to join. Reach is a separate organization, and they have multiple campaigns in there. And some of them are more about like voter outreach, or most of them actually are more about voter outreach. Ours is exclusively about sharing content on social media, because they have that functionality in there and it's really effective. So first you have to like join Reach, and then you can join the Demcast campaign. And we'll go over in a second how to do that. And then we're also going to, for kind of like peak Demcast engagement, we're going to have chat and strategy groups where you can have community with people. And it's going to be on a secure encrypted app with end-to-end encryption, so that it's basically like unhackable. To make sure that only folks who are really part of our movement are in those chat and strategy groups, we are having to increase our vetting process for sort of letting people in, to be frank. And that's just to keep everybody's information secure and keep our communication secure. So how do we join all those things? Okay, so we have this is the first time we've ever shared it. It's demcast.com/team. We have a new join page. So I'm going to click on this and go to that. So this is just a splash page. It talks about the problem. It's very brief. It talks about the problem, the solution, the commitment, the benefit, our plan, and then there's a link to a frequently asked questions document that is very bare bones at the moment. So sorry about that. This call came right after Thanksgiving weekend, and I didn't quite get that built out to the extent that I wanted to. And so that will be a work in progress. And but like on that FAQ doc, it has our email address. And so if you have questions, send them to us via email. And then, if it sort of like elevates to a frequently asked question, then I'll be sure to add our response to this FAQ doc. It'll just be a more sort of streamlined way of getting answers if you're looking for information about who we are and what we do. And I'll probably right at the top of this, after we're done recording this video, I'll put a link to this overview of Demcast in that FAQ doc. And then the form. So so you come to the demcast.com/team page, you get a little overview. Okay, that looks interesting. And then you click here, it opens up the form, and we use EveryAction as our secure member database. And so that's where this information goes when you fill this out. And I'll have to black out my personal information that was auto-populated in the form when I pulled this up. So what we're asking for here, there's some information on the left for context for folks that people who are interested in joining can read. But what we're asking for here is going to really help us put this community together. So we want to know what social media platforms you really intend to use. Maybe not every one that you have an account on. Like I have technically like a Reddit account, but it's like super small and I don't really use it very much. So we don't need that. But if you intend to use your social media accounts on any of these platforms, we'd love for you to share your handles with us. So if you click, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok, which would be my three that I click, and Blue Sky now, and Threads, I guess. But so you just go through and share your handles of the ones that you're actively involved in. Part of the reason that we're asking for that is just to help put communities together. And part of the reason is for vetting purposes. We need to make sure that you're a real person who has social media accounts and not like a MAGA troll. So one of the ways that we're going to verify that you are who you are is you're going to put what your primary social media channel is. So like I would have clicked Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And then probably right now I'd put Blue Sky. It's just like the place where I'm like hanging out the most, I guess. So I would put Blue Sky here, and then the Demcast account is going to once we've vetted you, the Demcast account is going to direct message you, and you're going to reply back, just confirming that you actually did apply to be be on this team. And that's our way of making sure that you are who you say you are, and to keep trolls out. This communication section is really important. I talked about the different ways that you can be involved. Do you want to join community sort of chat groups, strategy groups on a secure app? If so, click that one there. If you want to be gain access to a massive to reach and to our massive library of content, you click that one. And if you don't want to be involved in any of that and you just want to get the emails or get the texts, you click the third. So it's really important that you answer that question. And then the last section here is just about issues that you're passionate about. So we're asking for you to give us your top 3 issues. And please note that we said 3. These are all really important and we all care a lot about them. But we might do some affiliation grouping based on issues that people are particularly passionate about. Maybe you want to track what the EPA is doing and sort of share that back with your strategy group. And you can do less than 3 too, but just maximum of 3 of the issues that you care most about. Then you hit that submit button. So that's why we're asking. I wanted to explain why we're asking for all this information. It's not because we're trying to sell you something. We're just trying to make this community as effective as it can possibly be. And just a final note, if you had been a member of Demcast for a long time, or even just a short time, and you feel like you've filled out one of these forms before, we would love for you to refill out this form because there's new stuff on here. There are new social platforms on here. And there's different and new and different information that we're trying to get from you so that we can sort of build the team for this new era. I think, is that it, Jamie? Is that our last slide?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'll stop sharing.
So we have a lot of questions.
Great.
So we will get through as many as we can. So we'll probably have to stay on a little bit late. So if you have a question that we haven't gotten to and you really want it answered, you can stay on and we'll try to get to as many as we can. I've been trying to also just answer some by typing in the answer. First question, is anyone looking at a comprehensive plan to counter the MAGA social media corporate infrastructure? Yes, right now. That's what we're doing. We have a question. How do I get my social media posts to burst through the bubble of my Dem followers?
Yeah, it's a great question. Part of the way that we think about this is, first of all, remember, it's not a choir. And part of what we're trying to do, like, it doesn't feel like a choir online, which it hasn't for the last couple of years. There are people within our own coalition that we need to bring back into the fold. So it's not a bad thing to communicate with people on our side and just make sure that they're informed, motivated, that their spirits are up. Like, that's a piece of what we're doing. As far as bursting through the bubble, I think the most effective ways that we have at our disposal to do that because of algorithmic issues are storming and just all being involved in social media storms together at the same time. We have seen time and time again that our message does break through to the other side when we do those social media storms. And then the other that I mentioned is the sort of strategic disruptive commenting in MAGA posts and just right-wing posts, maybe not even MAGA, although I guess they're kind of synonymous now. But because we haven't done a lot of that, we'll do some training on this and sort of what we mean by that and how we can support each other in being strategic about inserting messages into sort of the other space. Also things like helping to boost the alternative media infrastructure on the left. If we can help them win back a share of people that we've lost, then that's good too. So there's a variety of things that we can do. And we will continue to help arm all of you with ideas about how to do those things.
This is so our next one is we need more progressive media podcasts. So in December, there will be a new progressive media podcast.
That's true. I kind of let off by saying that that's not really what Demcast does, but here directly contradicting myself. James and Tiffany from 11 Films and I are starting a podcast called The Dangerous Ones. It's going to be entertaining and funny and not all about politics, but we're definitely going to talk about the issues of the day. It's probably going to be a lot of economic messaging and a focus on the dangers of the corporatization of America and politics and how that impacts regular people and working people. So we're really excited to do that project. We've been talking about it for years, and we're just like, let's just do it. So we're going to do that. We'll make sure that everybody knows when that happens. But like that's like one, right? And there's going to need to be some investment by people with a lot of money in the progressive media infrastructure, and that's not really our place. But we will do what we can do to help boost that infrastructure as it gets built.
Your next question is on Social media training sessions. Yes, we are planning to do social media training sessions. We will get one scheduled shortly for Blue Sky to kind of go over all the little fun ins and outs of Blue Sky. So stay tuned for that. Um, and the next question I'm actually kind of passionate about is talking about a former Nixon lawyer is saying Biden should pardon anyone that Trump has started to target. I absolutely agree with that. And I think that will get louder over the next week or two as people are really going to start to talk about that. So the next question is, how do we tell the truth when people truly believe right-wing lies? Um, and the left has an implicit bias as well. And some of the most progressive accounts that are big will put out somewhat truths to get the retweets and the likes. Not everyone on this call is going to want to hear it, but one of the big ones right now is, asking for a forensic audit because the election was stolen. It was not. Nobody wants to hear it, but we want to believe it. So if you see something that you feel is too good to be true, double check before you share it. So, because we can have the same bias.
And I'll just say here, part of the reason that the other side has been so much more effective in terms of spreading their message online is, let's just like get right down to it. Republicans don't care about governing at all. They don't even really believe in government. And so they don't have to have complex policy positions on things. They don't have to talk about, early childhood education because they don't give a shit. So they can just shit post and lie all day. And that's just way easier. And it's more inflammatory and it drives the algorithm more because it pisses people off. And so yes, Democrats need to improve our messaging infrastructure. And I've been saying this for years, as you all know who've been involved. But we have a harder job online than they do. And it's just way easier to just be able to lie all the time. So it's a really big problem that we do have to solve if we want to save this country. And we think about this all the time, and we'll continue to share our advice on this front as we move forward here. But we also just have to acknowledge what the situation is, and that it's an uphill battle, but it's a battle that's worth fighting.
Social storm.
What's a social storm?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you guys are new here, probably this is one of our most basic things we do.
It just means all getting online and talking about the same thing at the same time. And usually we'll have a common hashtag that we're using. And it's just a way of making using a lot of small accounts to make a lot of noise all at the same time and bring an issue up to the fore. And we've seen it time and time again. Like the social media drives news coverage. So if we do a social storm on something, like a lot of times we'll see that issue in the news the next day. And it's not hard to draw the parallel between the action online and the news coverage and trends and all those kinds of things. So it's a really useful tool. You hear about Trump was going to do a rally and all the TikTok kids went and bought all the tickets, right? I mean, that's kind of a form of a social storm, using trends to just disrupt stuff or inform people.
Data to get better at messaging to ordinary people. And there was actually a lot of message testing done last cycle. And I think it actually backfired because the messages ended up kind of being blanded down to where they didn't feel real and authentic anymore. Um, some people might disagree with me on that, but I think we almost relied too heavily on the Democratic messaging people. Um, and then we took out the human story aspect of it. Any thoughts on that? So,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think you nailed it.
the problem our communication or our policies? Um, Actually, it's 100% communication. Um, the percentage of Americans who agree with Democratic policies, any single policy that you poll, it can be anywhere from the low of 67% up to 90%. But we're not communicating what those policies do to affect everyday life. And then what happens when take the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed only by Democrats pretty much, then Republicans would go back home and take credit for it. And so we need to be telling the stories of our policies, not just talking policy.
Yeah, and I think more broadly, like especially in in 2025, like yes, we need to help build the Democratic brand because it's the only way out, but I think we need to do a lot less like overtly partisan uh, posting because our country is so divided along partisan lines. If we want messages to break through, it has to be about the issues and about the impacts of those issues. And to the extent that we can use real people's stories about how things are impacting their lives, that's another way that we break through that algorithmic bubble because it's not about Trump versus whoever or Democrats versus Republicans. It's about regular people versus elite people who are stealing all our wealth, frankly, or people who are being harmed by immigration policies or just real heart wrenching stories is and then I'll say also humor. One how can we uh, anger drives the algorithm, right? Like the more angry you are, the more likely you are to interact with posts and then those posts go farther in the algorithm. Humor can do the same thing. And so strategically figuring out how we can use humor, not from a partisan perspective, but just from a um, strategic perspective, I think is something that we need to think about as a movement as well.
And I think hope can do the same thing because we're going to need hope right now and we're going to need joy. So you can still be hopeful and joyful. And that has actually been my most viral posts have been on hope over the last few weeks. As a 501c4, will Demcast be designated as a terrorist organization? If it passes, probably. The Senate will not bring it up. And so they will have to start again next cycle with an even smaller margin in Congress. They will literally only have 2 votes to lose in the next Congress, and not even that many as it starts because 3 will be vacant. So
Yeah, so we are concerned about this. We're thinking about it. We're seeking legal advice on it. I think we will have a contingency plan probably of a for-profit status as a backup if our nonprofit status is revoked by the Treasury. And we'll just do business in a different way and try and wear a terrorist organization as as a badge of honor. But one of the reasons that we're that's one of the reasons that we're so focused on security and keeping our community safe, is because there are real threats from a really super out of control Trump administration. But we'll worry about that. You guys don't worry about that.
Talk on Blue Sky that we can use to find each other. That is a great question and a great idea. I have used just Demcast before, but we probably should be using it a little bit more right now to be able to find each other better. And the Demcast account does have 3 starter packs on Blue Sky. It's Demcast USA, so that's a great place to start. So,
and once you guys all sign up via that form and you put your Blue Sky accounts in there and we get you all vetted and everything, we'll make sure that everybody gets added to our starter packs. Probably end up having a lot of them, but that's okay.
the question is more of a concern. Conservative dominance and IG has a look. They have excelled in selling conservative lifestyle through tradwives, natural health and beauties. These accounts are quietly communicating conservative values and make them look pretty. We need something to challenge that. Are we going to do anything about a progressive values that could build an alternative to that?
I think as a movement, we definitely need to work with our influencers and our alternative media infrastructure to think through how we not replicate that, but use similar strategies to kind of have a politically adjacent, more appealing brand for our movement. I think it's important to not have that be party centric, but just be kind of movement centric. But it's a great question, and it's something that we're all going to have to sort of think through as a community.
We get more clicks with facts when fear mongering and lies are so much more emotionally engaging. I think, again, bringing it back to the story on how that particular fact affects your community, your state.
Yep. And like I said, humor also breaks through. So I think we need to dive into that. We're never going to I don't think it's effective for us to be sort of rage machines online. It just doesn't work given what our values are as a movement. So we have to find other ways of driving engagement that's not making people scared or angry.
There's any research about where non-voters, as opposed to MAGA, get their information? Is it different from where Trump's get? Yes. Non-voters tend to completely disengage from all mainstream media. They get almost all of their information from social media, almost all of it. And that's the accidental posts they see. They're not ones that are going out and looking for information, but they're the ones that their friends or family have shared. And they come across it on Facebook or Instagram, or they're scrolling Catterday on Twitter, and somebody with a Politico post has used the hashtag Catterday. So that is why what we're doing is so important. Because people who got their news from social media were more likely to vote for Trump. So. And there's been a lot of questions about Midas Touch. They're a great organization, but we're very different from them, although we do coordinate with them.
Yeah. I was on the line with Brett when they the day that they dropped their snake video that really blew them up in 2020. And yeah, they're good guys, and they're doing important work in the movement. That's just it's adjacent to ours, and we'll see what we can do about partnering with them and other folks like the Midas Touch Network more during this time to uh, you know make sure that their listeners know about the opportunity to be involved in the Demcast network, and also from our side make sure that we are clipping their content and having that be a part of our plan for dissemination to the extent that it makes sense and it's on message. So yeah, it's a great example of a group that's doing important work out there.
Even before Trump's policies have a negative impact, I think we need to pre-inoculate. Absolutely. And I'm actually already seeing, because gas prices went down and people thanking Trump for gas prices going down. It's like he's not going to be in office for 6 weeks. So yeah, I think we absolutely need to start inoculating now. Sorry, there's just so many.
Great questions, guys. This is why we love you, is you're on this. These are great questions.
The age group we are needing to influence. I think it's any age group. But obviously, the younger age group really needs to know how politics affects their daily lives. And I mean, I know when I was out canvassing and phone banking, talking to younger people, I really tried to bring it back locally, because sometimes the presidential election, it's hard to imagine how that affects your daily lives. But when you're talking about like city council and, your vote on the city council, which can be decided by 10 votes, determine when your street gets plowed, suddenly people care a little bit more, because then it's easier to connect the bigger issues of politics. Will social storms work on Blue Sky? I've actually heard that they are planning to get trending things up pretty quickly. So,
But I mean, even if it's not a trend situation, yes, they will, because what we do during a social storm is we have people, our whole team, dive in, no matter what platform they're on, and share posts on a specific topic, and we have a hashtag, and then we ask folks to go to other posts that have that hashtag and amplify them. And that's that's a quick way that we can find each other on whatever platform we're on, to help boost each other's content. So that's part of the idea of a social storm. And they have hashtags on Blue Sky, so that should work just as well as it does anywhere else.
we measure our success over time. We actually do quite a bit of data already on this. Depending on the platform, you can get more specific. But like on Twitter, we can measure how many people were reached, how many impressions. On Instagram, TikTok, we can see like how many posts. And so that's why you'll see us really pushing specific hashtags. And for anybody new to the call, this is Daxter. He thinks you're all here to see him, so don't disappoint him. So, but he lives for Zoom calls. So, and then we have a question about our toolkits, that an iPhone or an iPad they're having a hard time posting it. If you ever have any issues with that, you can email us at admin, and we can help guide you through that, because that shouldn't be happening.
At admin@demcastusa.com.
Yep, I just dropped it in chat, and our toolkits, they are updating the toolkit, so they should have Blue Sky by the end of the week. So, yes, Demcats rule. So, in fact, my phone sometimes autocorrects from Demcast to Demcats. So, I'm concerned about security as we seek to post social media content, given the authoritarian intentions and intent to use retribution against anyone who's perceived to have opposed Trump and MAGAs. Um, you know, they want us to believe that they're going to go after everybody, and they don't have the resources to go after every single negative post. So, um, I wouldn't be too concerned about that right now. And if you are concerned, you can use an alias. You can set up a separate email account that would at least prolong it a little bit. Um, you know, Devin Nunes still has not been able to find the cow to serve him the lawsuit papers. So just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy to be concerned. And we share your concern, and just know that we'll do everything that we can to provide the best guidance. And we're never gonna try and create a structure or take actions where we're putting the community at risk intentionally. So, um, like I said, security is going to be at the top of our list as an organization in terms of everybody's safety and safety of your information. Um, but ultimately, it's going to be an individual choice about whether you feel comfortable posting opposition content on social media. And there are other ways that you can be involved, even if you decide that you don't want to do that. You can post stories about people's lives that don't explicitly say Trump is an evil, maniacal asshole, or that he's corrupt or anything. That can still have an impact on the discourse and help influence people's views. So we'll try and help everybody sort of walk through what you're going to be comfortable with, and help make sure that there's still stuff that you can post that even if you're not comfortable being outwardly antagonistic toward the administration.
True accounts on Truth Social. If you can stomach it, but that's the one platform I stay away from.
It's basically Twitter now. Yeah, everything is all about, can you stomach it, right? I could definitely foresee us, spearheading an effort to get some volunteers to, create sock accounts on various right-wing platforms to go in and disrupt. It's not like at the top of our list of stuff that we want to do, because right now we're just trying to get organized and getting our side's messaging straight. But I could see us doing something like that down the road for people who feel like they could stomach that, and go in and be sort of either to monitor those conversations and bring back intelligence about what that side's talking about, or to actually go in and try and disrupt some of that. Jamie, you were frozen there.
Yep, I did freeze. I'm switching you to host in case my internet goes out. So,
That's good.
because it's happened before.
And I have a call at 2:30 my time, so we have about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I think some of us need more training on how we will be communicating, coordinating. We will definitely get that set up in the next week for people who need a little bit more additional training on how to use toolkits, reach, all of that. So we will definitely get that set up. This video, we are streaming live on YouTube, and we will, and so for anybody out there, you can go to our Demcast USA YouTube and get it. Twitter is so vile. Is there an effective strategy for engaging there at this point?
It's still like you saw in the screenshots, it's still a place where a lot of Americans get their news. I'm not in the business of, and I don't think it's a good idea to vacate digital spaces and leave them to right-wing crazies. It is a very unpleasant place to be. I am going to be there less, but I'm not going to stop posting over there, at least anytime soon. If he merges Twitter and Truth Social, then I might go. But other than that, I think, hey, we're complaining about the fact that we can't pierce through those algorithmic bubbles and reach the other side. Well, Twitter's a place where it's going to be a lot easier to do that just because of the nature of the platform. So I think it'll still be a piece of what we do, but and it's 100% up to you as an individual whether you want to stomach being over there or having your information over there. That's a choice that each of us needs to make. But I'm sure that there will be a contingent of Demcast that hangs around there and tries to continue to influence that conversation.
Someone is asking about our Instagram account. They suspended and deactivated our main Demcast account on both Instagram and Threads. And so it's the Demcast Florida one who is now our main account there. So if I primarily post art on my account, should I open a separate account for politics or post both art and politics? I would try to do both on the same account. And how can you connect art and politics?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're comfortable with it from a like, I don't know if it's your profession or anything, like from a professional perspective or a personal perspective, I think it's great and something that we should all consider. It's like, what else could I or should I talk about online? Because if I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan. I created a separate San Francisco Giants Twitter account to like go into Giants Twitter. So it wouldn't mix with my political account, but maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have done that with my political account so I could get followers from that community who might be apolitical or from the other side. And maybe that would have been an opportunity to have some influence over people who might not otherwise see my content. So, I think it's up to you based on your situation, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have an account that's not just purely political, regardless of what platform you're on.
Don't think we're going to get through the rest of the 116 questions.
Guys, great questions.
Great questions. I so appreciate everyone staying on for an extra 30 minutes. And we will send out all of this information in an email as well. So we will make sure we send out the links to join. We will send out the slide deck, how to sign up for Substack, all of that we will send out to everybody after the call. So by tomorrow morning, you will all have that in your inbox. So.
Y'all are amazing. I love this community. And I love this growing community. I'm so appreciative of all of you. We're going to get through this. We'll get through it together. Obviously we wish it had gone the other way, but at least in this Trump 2.0 era, at the beginning here, we're not all just like poking around trying to figure out what to do. We already have a community built, unlike last time he was elected. We are experienced activists, and we know how to call our reps and do all the things that we've learned how to do over the last 8 years. So it's not all dark and gloomy. There are things that we can do. There are ways that we can resist, and we'll do it as a community. And you guys are just amazing. Love you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Catch you soon.